I love Resident Evil. But here's the thing about love. I love my dog, but I also realize that my dog is dumb as shit, and kind of a dick. Turns out, when you love something, you're pretty well equipped to tear it a new asshole, and that's what I'm about to do. So without further ado, let's talk about everything fucking stupid and wrong with this fabulous game. Let's talk about the dialogue first.
Okay. What happened? You're wounded.
This whole place is a killing zone.
I don't know about you, but for me, watching that was about as painful as acknowledging that Shark Week is dead, and it's never coming back. Okay, so the voice acting's bad.
Forgive me.
Don't sweat it, Barry, I forgive you. There's just supposed to have been some underlying factor that made you and everyone else suck total dick. But, you know, I can't imagine what that could possibly be, right? Okay, but bad voice acting, that's in a lot of games. I can overlook that. But what I can't overlook is how fucking disappointing the writing for the characters in this game is. It is just absolutely tragic. Let's use Jill Valentine to illustrate this. Spoiler alert, I know the storyline is 20 years old, but I thought I'd just throw this out here. So if you, for some reason, have not played this game yet, or you don't know what happens and you still want to, then stop watching right now. In Jill's story, only Jill, Barry, and Wesker have made it to the main hall. Chris has gone missing at this point. However, shortly after arriving, they hear a gunshot, which they believe may be Chris. Jill and Barry go to investigate. Zombies happen, and then they decide, hey, we should probably tell Wesker this. However, when they make it back to the hall, Wesker is also missing.
Jill, help me look for him.
After a quick search, it becomes pretty obvious that Wesker's no longer there. So, like any good horror characters, they decide the best course of action is to, obviously split up. After which, a pretty suspicious set of events begin to unfold. After Jill falls into a trap, Barry narrowly rescues her, and then proceeds to crack the most iconic Resident Evil joke in history.
That was a close one. A second late, you would have fit nicely into a sandwich.
Oh, yeah.
Now pay attention, because this is the important part.
I just had something I wanted to check. Anyway, we should get back to searching for Wesker and Chris.
Barry stated earlier that he was going to spend more time checking out that pool of blood for some reason, and now, inexplicably, he's on the other side of the mansion, and he can't really explain why. That's a bit odd, isn't it? I don't really blame Jill for going easy on Barry there, because overall, I mean, it wasn't that suspicious. But what happens next is so much worse.
But it's not necessary to destroy stars.
Jill overhears Barry having an incredibly incriminating conversation about potentially killing off STARS, their police unit. When she goes inside, Barry's excuse is that, oh, I'm old, and I'm talking to myself. I don't know about you, but if I was in Jill's position, I don't think I would buy that shit.
You alright?
Fast forward a bit, and Jill runs into Enrico, the leader of STARS Bravo team. Enrico tells Jill that STARS is finished, and who would have guessed it, there's a traitor on the loose. He's then promptly shot and killed, and Jill's more interested in looking at his goddamn corpse than the fact that there's a dude behind her who probably wants to fucking murder her. But it doesn't end there. This shit just keeps getting worse. Less than 10 minutes later, she runs into Barry, and what does she say to him? Nothing. She doesn't say a goddamn thing. Like, hey, Enrico just got murdered in the middle of this cave, and what are you doing here? That seems like kinda coincidental, doesn't it? After taking the elevator down, Jill and Barry hear an ominous noise, and Barry, being the gentleman that he is, volunteers Jill to check it out. Meanwhile, he'll be a true hero and secure their escape route, because that's bound to end well, right? Oh wait, never mind, he left you for dead. Surprise, surprise! Shit finally gets real when they run into each other again, and Barry can't come up with a lie good enough to excuse the fact that he's been sketchy as fuck for like the entire game. So he decides this is a good time to get rid of Jill. However, Jill displays the fact that she's actually been min-maxing the entire time and putting all her points into agility instead of intelligence. Probably a bad move for the detective class. As if shit hadn't already hit the fan, that immortal cunt Lisa Trevor decides to show up too. At this point, you're given a prompt. You either give Barry his gun back, or you don't. If you don't, which is the only fucking logical decision, the game shames you by killing Barry off and having a picture of his family fall out of his pocket. Congratulations, you made orphans. Or maybe not, they still have a mom, I guess, but fuck it, it was still a good joke. Now, if you like to see the best in people, or as I like to say, you're an absolute moron, then you can give Barry his gun back. So they temporarily set aside their differences to fight against a common evil. And then afterwards, they can finally talk about, like, what the fuck is going on? Because that's a conversation that needs to happen. Except that doesn't happen at all. If you talk to Barry after the fight, all he does is express his concern that maybe the monster's not really dead, and suggests that he should guard the area just in case, you know, like the good old times. And does Jill, like, contest this idea at all? No, she's just like, okie dokie, it's not like you just tried to kill me or anything, but you got my back, thanks, Barry. And I really can't come to a conclusion other than Jill's just the worst detective in the world, and she's like sporting some next level cognitive deficiencies. Jill runs into Barry one last time right before the end of the game in the laboratory. And of course they don't talk about, you know, like the past events that have transpired between them or anything. No. That's all water under the bridge for Jill Valentine, the patron saint of Alzheimer's, dementia, and any other mental illness that could possibly explain her fucking retarded actions. This whole situation ends in the laboratory, where it's revealed that Barry has been blackmailed by Wesker the whole time by taking his family hostage. So Barry's not really the bad guy, and you know, he ends up redeeming himself too. But all this is kind of besides the point. The point is, and it pains me to say this because I love this game, is that this whole thing was just written terribly. It was completely avoidable, and I'll explain how they could have basically had the same game, but made it make like way more sense. Barry had been made suspicious for most of the game to defer attention from Wesker, who's the actual bad guy. And that's fine, you know, it's a little annoying that Jill didn't pick up on the shit, but the main problem comes down to when Barry pulled his gun on Jill. This whole portion was added to the game in the remake, so this wasn't in the original game. So they actually added this problem into the remake, which makes it even more infuriating. There are two very simple and very viable ways they could have kept this portion in the game without ruining the story. The first would be to have this whole showdown with Lisa Trevor without having Barry pull his gun on Jill. That didn't really need to happen. It was cool that we got a choice and, you know, it affects the story as a whole, but having it in there is kind of problematic. Now, the second option is even more conservative. You could have had that scene transpire, but after the boss fight, Barry could have either run away or knocked Jill out or something. And then instead of running into him at the elevator, he would already be with Wesker in the lab. This way, you could have basically the whole same thing play out. It would just play out in a much more believable fashion. Without beating a dead horse, I just have to emphasize how sad it is that a group full of professional writers sat down, looked at this shit, and were like, yeah, that's a good idea. That's what we're going with. Okay, I think we've shit-talked the good guys enough. Let's switch gears and talk about the bad guys. Umbrella. Umbrella is the world's largest pharmaceutical company in the Resident Evil world, but that's just a cover and a source of funds for their real practice, the creation of bioorganic weapons, or BOWs for short, which I want to point out is a redundant term. Now, Umbrella was doing a pretty good job of keeping their whole operation under wraps until a dude in a dress who's actually a leech caused a T-virus outbreak which spread to areas around the mansion. Now this is where shit just gets plain annoying. You'd think that a multi-million-dollar company creating biological weapons in a secret laboratory would have, like, you know, a vaccine on site in case of a viral outbreak. Wouldn't that be kinda handy? It gets better though, because it turns out they do have a vaccine, and it's in games that take place less than 2 months after this game. So why did this whole thing happen again? Early on in the game, you can find the diary of someone who worked in the mansion, and it turns out that they knew about the outbreak about 5 to 6 days before people actually became full-out zombies. And instead of trying to distribute an antidote or something, they just decided it would be a great idea to put big band-aids on people. Good job, Umbrella. Solid contingency plan. Umbrella's inability to set up a safe work environment isn't their only flaw, though. No, they're pretty bad at prioritizing their research projects, too. Despite the fact that Umbrella's made a variety of bioweapons throughout the series, their ultimate goal has always been to create a perfect tyrant, which are generally oversized behemoths that lost their male privilege somewhere along the line, with the exception of Thanatos, who seems to be rocking quite the package in his banana hammock. Here's the thing though, Tyrants were supposed to be these super soldiers that were intelligent enough to take orders from their superiors, but they don't really seem to enjoy doing that, and when push comes to shove, they're probably a little more fragile than they should be. Unfortunately, Umbrella was too busy diddling around with the idea of these 10-foot tall prima donna eunuchs to realize that they already created the ultimate bioweapon: giant, invincible bees. I don't know about you, but I'd rather take on the clawed behemoth than 100 angry bees the size of Ron Jeremy's dick that also shrug off anti-tank rockets. All Umbrella would have to do to take over the world with these bastards is hike the price of EpiPens until— wait, no, that already happened. Alright, so we could be here all day, but for the sake of time, I'm gonna go into rapid fire mode now and just cover a bunch of random miscellaneous issues. What the fuck is up with this first zombie? It took 3 goddamn magnum rounds to take him down. That's more than the first fight with Tyrant. What the fuck is a lighter of lighters? Who translated this shit? Oh, wait, hi again? Contrary to what this game would actually have you believe, helicopters are usually pretty goddamn loud, and you can't just talk to someone who's hovering 15 feet above your head. Also, why the fuck does the Raccoon City Police Department have access to goddamn rocket launchers? Why does this place have more death traps than bathrooms? I need to piss! Snakes are venomous, not poisonous. Where was my trigger warning for this big-ass spider? Why aren't any of the endings in this game fucking canon? Barry and Rebecca are both supposed to survive this, but there isn't an ending that has both of them. I'm done. I'm good. We're done. We're done here. Before we take our leave, I gotta reiterate that I love this game. I absolutely love it. But goddamn if it isn't a muddled piece of shit.